So the channel's name is Variety Films, but are my favorite movies a variety of genres, or do I favor a specific one? After so much work and looking into it so hardcore and working my butt off and watching so many movies, I have finally come up with my favorite movies of all time, and I've actually brought together a list of 25 with 2 honorable mentions. So let me be clear, this is my personal list. It's very subjective. They're movies that are near and dear to my heart for whatever reasons, and I might even get into it. So if a movie that you love is not on this list, comment below and mention it and bring it up, and maybe we can talk about it. Maybe I can let you know personally why it's not on my list. So without further ado, let's get started. Like I said, I have 2 honorable mentions. I can't believe they didn't make it. It was really hard, and it really hurts me. The first one is The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, a Western, Clint Eastwood back in the day, Sergio Leone. It just barely missed it. I think because it's a little long and the rewatchability isn't quite there for me, that barely missed out. And my next one is Predator, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Get to the chopper! It's so intense and so crazy, but I feel like it's just a little outdated and the story is kind of basic and the characters don't really mean anything to me, so I think that just got edged out a little bit by these 25 other ones. Alright, so kick off the list. Number 25, we have a comedy. One of my favorite comedies of all time. So if you put a comedy list, this is going to be up there at probably top 3 maybe. And I'm just laughing just thinking about it because all of the quotes I could say right now. But I'm going to keep it limited and just say, hey, Superbad's on there. So this was one of my favorite movies in high school, and I was kind of fearing that maybe the comedy and the jokes wouldn't hold up in a couple years, but now I finally rewatched it twice, and holy cow, the jokes still hold up. It is still funny. It's not even premature humor, you know, kid humor, fart jokes, all that stuff. The jokes are very earned, and I crack up every time still. I am McLovin. So I can already feel the hate right now, and I haven't even said this movie choice yet. Number 24, this is a movie from a director that I love very much and is very beloved by many people, and this particular movie from this director, or just out of any movie in history, is very loved. Pulp Fiction. Alright, I know what you're saying. Why is this not top 5 if not number 1 on my list? Well, there's some things that are outdated, there's some things that the mistakes that just bothered me, and it kind of breaks into the rewatchability factor for me. Other than the quotes and all that stuff, the story's kind of lacking a little bit, and I guess that's the point, but whatever. For me personally, it's a little lower. So growing up a huge sports fan and still being a huge one to this day, there should be a lot of movies that I love when it comes to sports movies, but that's not necessarily the case. So that's why this one is newer, and I love it. I love the concept of the story. The acting is tremendous. Wow. Jonah Hill, he comes out of nowhere. And you saw him on my list earlier. It's Superbad. Superbad to this, ridiculous. Moneyball, the true story of the Oakland Athletics from the early 2000s, of their run from being one of the worst teams to being one of the best teams at minuscule little budget. And it is just awesome. Brad Pitt brings his A game, and there's not that much sports play, like physical watching sports, but the whole sports aspect of it is just awesome. And like I said, the acting is just tremendous and the story is just awesome. And Moneyball, probably my favorite sports movie. So number 22, we have a kind of controversial one because this movie just came out and a lot of people don't love it as much because it doesn't compare to the originals or as a rehashing of the original. And if you haven't noticed yet, I don't have the physical copy, so I have it at Redbox, but I'm talking Star Wars The Force Awakens. I got my Stormtrooper hat on, I got my Captain Phasma and Kylo Ren shirt on, and I love this movie. I don't know if it's me fanboying or if it's me just loving the newness, but hey, when it came down to it and I analyzed it and I rated it, this was very high up for me, and it probably would have been higher, but I'm just assuming that I'm fanboying a little bit, so I brought it down a couple notches. But Star Wars The Force Awakens. So here's where the debate's going to start coming into play, because as I mentioned Pulp Fiction earlier, now we're getting to another one of Quentin Tarantino movies, Django. I think I like this one more than Pulp Fiction because it has the action, The acting is great, the dialogue's great, but you're going to get that in Tarantino movies. But I feel like the action and Leonardo DiCaprio brought his being a villain was awesome. Seeing him on screen just smashing his hand on the skull and really cutting his hand and wiping his blood on Kerry Washington's face, and just seeing how just dark and gritty that was, and just intense and real. And I don't know, there's just little things like that that just put that just this much over Pulp Fiction. So Django Unchained, a little higher. So this one's going to be a shock for a lot of people for two reasons. One, it's a newer film, and two, a lot of people probably haven't seen this movie. Not only the fact that it's newer, but also because it's just a lower, not necessarily independent film, because I think it had a decent budget to it, but it just, for some reason, people didn't go see this movie. The Nice Guys. Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe. It is awesome. Ryan Gosling plays a private detective. Russell Crowe plays a bruiser who's hired to beat people up pretty much. And the chemistry between the two is just amazing. It's hilarious. It's beautiful to watch. The story is a lot different than what you would expect. It's not just the cliche buddy cop comedies that you see all the time. It has action. It has the comedy out this world. It's beautiful. It's well directed. Please go see this movie if you haven't seen it yet. The Nice Guys. So this choice is going to be confusing and a little odd for a lot of people because it's newer, and it also is considered the lower tier movies from this director. And I've already talked about two of his movies, and this is the last one out of the way, so the controversy can either really start or it can finally end. The Hateful Eight, I don't own this one either, so I have it on the Redbox, but I love this film. The dialogue is intense, it's crazy. You just love these characters right off the bat. Walter Goggins just is tremendous. Samuel Jackson, as always in Tarantino films, he's great. Kurt Russell brings it. Jennifer Jason Leigh, she kills it. It is awesome. The story is great, and it is just so much fun. Please see it if you haven't. It is almost 3 hours long, and it flies by for me. There's a few little things I don't like about it. That's the reason it's probably not higher on this list, because I love this movie. So this movie is a surprise to me that's on my list, not because it's a bad movie, but it's because it was one of my favorite movies as a kid. I would literally go to a movie store every day for a whole summer, probably when I was like 9 or 10 years old. I would pop this movie in. I was real good friends with the guy working there. He would let me come just straight up watch any movie I wanted, and I just always chose this movie. And when I thought about it, I was probably like, oh, it's probably a guilty pleasure. The movie's good. It's got Jack Black. It's got a bunch of kids, you know, whatever. It is critically acclaimed, and it's a director who's just awesome. Richard Linklater, same director of Days of Confused and Boyhood and the Before trilogy, and I'm talking about School of Rock. Holy cow, the kids bring it. Jack Black is goofy and silly, but it's, you know, very accurate for the character that builds up, and it's just a very good arc, and it's just awesome to watch. The soundtrack is great, just hearing all these classic rock songs, and I love it. So this one's a real controversial one for me personally because I love this movie so much, and it is killing me to not put in my top 10, but I feel like there's just some little things that it's very hard to rewatch for me personally, so I think that kept it out of my top 10, but I love this film, no doubt. Kevin Spacey is amazing, and everyone else is really good as well, but Kevin Spacey, gotta love him. American Beauty. As soon as you get over the fact that he's infatuated by a high school girl and you realize that's just, you know, a midlife crisis and all this crap going on, once you get over that fact and just how the arc and the build up and the lead up to the end, it is phenomenal. Kevin Spacey's awesome, and so I swear this is not intentional doing it this way. It's just kind of how the cards fell. But this is another movie with a young girl and a man, like a full man adult, and kind of their like relationship, not real relationship, but just the awkwardness when it comes to like the audience seeing it. It's just like, it's like, is it gonna happen? Is it not? It's kind of weird. It's really weird actually, but the action is great. The acting is great. Gary Oldman is amazing, and he's very unrecognizable as a young guy, but it is awesome. Leon the Professional. A hitman teaches a young girl how to be a cleaner, which is what they call hitman in the movie, and it's just awesome just seeing the build up, and just kind of it makes sense of why he's helping her, why she wants to be helped, why she wants to learn. The action's great. The final shootout is one of the best shootouts I've ever seen in film. So if you have not seen that, see it just for the shootout. It is amazing. So this one is super heartbreaking, the fact that it's not in my top 10, my top 5, or even my top 1, because I just love this movie so much. But when I've actually went back and analyzed it and just looked up the pros and the cons and the flaws of this movie, there's definitely a little bit that just kind of takes me out of it when it really comes down to it in comparison to other movies. But I love this movie, no doubt. The cast: Leonardo DiCaprio, Matt Damon, Jack Nicholson. You have director Martin Scorsese. If you don't know what I'm talking about right now, you need to get under a rock. I'm talking about The Departed. I love it so much. It's great. It is so much. It is fun. It's funny at sometimes. The action's crazy. It's very suspenseful and thrilling. And just seeing what happens full circle towards the end, holy cow. Next we have a based on a true story movie, and those movies kind of take me back a little bit when it comes to just feeling it deep, because it's just, there's always things in the plot that bother me in based on a true story movies, and that is, you know, a victim of the purpose right here, and that's The Fighter. It is amazing. Christian Bale. Christian Bale, the crack addict, he's all stringy, he's fighting, you know, all that stuff, but he's just so intense and he's so realistic. If you've ever been around anyone who is on drugs, especially crack, you definitely see it, that it's realistic, and he brings it, and he knows what he's doing. And don't take away anything from Mark Wahlberg, he brings it too. He packs the punch, pun intended, and it is just awesome seeing those two feed off each other, you know, the squirrely hype man and then the straight man and Mark Wahlberg. It is just awesome. Overall, this movie is fun to watch, and I love it. So this one's definitely going to be the most surprising on this entire list for anybody. So I want to emphasize this is my personal list. I love this movie. It hits me emotionally. It's very funny, but when it comes down to it, it just hits me right here in the feels. I love it, but you might judge me a little bit, and that's fine. I don't care, because I love this movie. 500 Days of Summer. It is hilarious. Joseph Gordon-Levitt is awesome. Zooey Deschanel. Oh, I always forget her name. But Zooey Deschanel, she is amazing. She's just so one note, just like that. But her character, it's meant to be, and it's the way that they play off each other, and then everything is just very earned. It's awesome. It's, like I said, it's funny. The direction's really cool. It doesn't go, you know, it jumps around days, you know, 500 Days of Summer, but it jumps around from different days, back, forth, back, in the middle, back to back. It's awesome. It's not just a romantic movie, you know, blah blah blah, love story. No, it says at the beginning this is not a love story, so get that out of the way. The characters are awesome. You kind of want to see what happens. Are you going to be sad? Are you going to be happy? Is it a happy ending? I don't know. Find out. 500 Days of Summer. So this one's really surprising that it's not in my top 10, because it's probably one of my favorite cop movies of all time because of the realisticness of it. It's based in the 50s, but if you lived in the 50s, you would imagine that this is probably how it went down. You have the flashy guy, the one who wants to, oh yeah, and take my picture, put me in the paper, put me on the headlines, I'm being all cool. And then you have the bruiser. He's like, I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to save the girl. I'm going to justice, but I'll do whatever it takes to get there. And then you have the straight edge guy, the guy, you know, nice, he's got his glasses on, he's nerdy, he'll snitch on you if he needs to, he does everything by the book. But when it comes down to it, there's just a few things that I just, not necessarily don't like about it, but I don't think there's enough things that I love about it. I love the entire film, but quantity over quality, there's not enough quantity in this one. But I love this film. It is awesome. LA Confidential. If you haven't seen it, it's a dang near perfect movie. The ending, you don't see that coming on your first watch. You're like, holy cow, that's really cool. And all that characters are great. The acting is phenomenal. But like I said, it's just so chill throughout the entire movie. There's a couple ups, but for the most part it's just like this, so it doesn't have enough for me to put it in my top 10 or higher on the list like I want, but hey, 12's not bad. Alright, so this for the last movie on my 11 through 25 list. It is a classic, and it hurts me the fact that it's not on my top 10 list, because I love this movie, but just like what I talked about, the Confidential, it just doesn't have enough that it's just like, packs the punch, it brings it in, it brings the heat, but that doesn't take anything away. It's practically flawless, if not flawless. It is amazing, and I'm kind of sad that I wasn't able to put it at number 12 because of the title. And if you know movies, you have an idea of probably what I'm saying right now. 12 Angry Men. The fact that the entire movie takes place in one room with 12 men arguing over either in the chair or not guilty. And the acting is phenomenal, the direction, the tenseness. For example, you hear scenes of just the rain in the background, or just the fan blowing, and that's all you hear, or just the breathing, or you just see it in their eyes, and it's just intense, and you just believe that's like, holy cow, this is really eating at them inside. Or the guys that have their reasons of why they vote one way or the other, you actually believe it. It's very earned, and it's a movie that takes place in just a room for an hour and a half, and you're enthralled the entire time, and you just want to see what goes, and you love these characters almost instantly. 12 Angry Men, the last movie on my 11 through 25. So as I said, this list is my personal list. It's subjective. None of these movies are bad movies by any means. You should see them all, and if you want me to talk about them more in depth, just comment and let me know which one you want me to review. If there's a movie that's not on my list and you want to kind of know why it's not on my list, comment it and I'll talk about it. And if you want me to actually go in depth in that movie and maybe explain why it's not in my top 25, I can do that as well. But you just got to participate, you got to comment below, and you got to start being active in this. And if you haven't yet, subscribe, like this video so I know that you actually liked it, and see more of my top 10 list, or as what I'm going to be doing, my new segment, Lucky Sevens, the top 7 of whatever topic we talk about that week. And share it. I want you guys to be involved, communicate, talk to me. Let's get it going. Let's watch the movies. Thank you very much. I will see you pretty soon. 1 through 10 coming up.